Welcome to The Explainer. So, back in January 2026, something pretty big happened. The entire world of artificial intelligence, it seemed, all came together in Singapore. And over just 1 week, it felt like AI, well, it finally grew up. We're going to unpack exactly what that means, how some major government plans and global agreements didn't just tweak the conversation, they basically marked AI's graduation into the real world.
And that's the perfect way to put it. The mood there wasn't just the usual tech hype or talking about sci-fi futures. No, this was about getting down to business, the hard, nitty-gritty reality of making AI actually work for everyone, safely and sustainably. It was like all that raw excitement finally met a dose of real-world responsibility. So, what does AI grew up really mean? Well, it means the whole conversation just shifted. For the longest time, it was this mad dash for bigger, more powerful models. But now, the focus moved to something much more mature. We're talking about an AI that's responsible, that's efficient, and that's actually woven into the fabric of our world.
All right, so let's get into it. The real engine behind this whole shift? It was the Singapore government. They didn't just play host to a conference, they seized the moment to lay out this incredibly detailed master plan for what this new era of AI should look like.
And right at the heart of their strategy was a huge financial commitment. But here's the key part. This wasn't just throwing money at abstract research. Nope, this was all about strategically pointing AI development towards solving some of the biggest, most fundamental problems we face, both as an industry and, frankly, as a planet.
And the number? It's pretty staggering. We're talking over $1 billion Singapore dollars. That's what's going into their National AI Research and Development Plan. And this isn't a short-term thing either. This fund is set to guide public research all the way to 2030. That is a serious, long-term commitment.
So how is this money being spent? Well, the plan itself is really smart. It's built on 3 main pillars. First up is fundamental research. And this one is crucial. It's aimed squarely at tackling the huge energy and water problem that current AI has. Then you've got applied research, which is all about making sure these cool new ideas don't just stay in a lab, but actually get out there and improve big industries. And last but not least, talent. The goal here is huge, to triple the number of AI experts in the country to 15,000.
And this quote from Minister Josephine Teo really sums up the whole philosophy. The goal, she said, is AI for the public good. This is so important. It's not about one country getting a secret proprietary edge. The whole vision is about sharing what they learn, making Singapore this neutral, collaborative place where the entire world can make progress together.
Okay, so with all this new power, you're going to need some new rules, right? A new rule book. And that's exactly what happened next. That same week saw the launch of 2 really important global frameworks. Basically, a safety net for this powerful new AI. First, there was something called the Singapore Consensus. And honestly, this is a huge deal. It's a single unified roadmap for how to do safety research. And it's not just a small group. We're talking over 100 of the best researchers from 11 different countries all signing on. This is one of the biggest attempts ever to get the world's top minds all on the same page when it comes to safety. At its core, the consensus lays out this defense-in-depth model. Think of it like layers of security. The whole idea is to bake safety in from the very beginning, at every single stage. So you start by figuring out the risks before a catastrophe could even happen. Then you actually build the AI systems to be trustworthy by design. And even after it's out in the world, you keep control with constant monitoring and feedback. But okay, what about AI that goes beyond just generating text? I'm talking about AI that can actually do things for you. Book your flights, organize your calendar, maybe even order your groceries. That's what we call agentic AI. These are autonomous systems that can act on their own. And that opens up a whole new can of worms and requires a totally new way of thinking about governance.
And that is exactly where Singapore's new governance framework comes in. And it's the very first of its kind, anywhere in the world. It really hones in on 4 critical things. First, you have to strictly limit what these agents can do. Second, you need clear checkpoints where a human has to give the okay. Third, you need constant, rigorous testing. And finally, you have to make sure the person using it always knows they're interacting with an AI.
So, we've got the government plans maturing, the safety rules maturing, but what about the tech itself? Well, it's growing up too. It's finally starting to move past that simple obsession with just getting bigger and bigger. For what felt like forever, the big question in AI was, is bigger better? And the answer was always a resounding yes. But at the big AAI 26 conference, which was kind of the technical main event of the week, we started to hear some really influential voices seriously challenging that whole idea.
And this is the real pivot point. The argument from researchers was this. We've gotten really good at the how, the mechanics of how these models learn. But the real challenge, the next frontier, is figuring out what. What are the right problems we should even be trying to solve? It sounds like a small change, but it's a massive shift in thinking.
And you can see this new direction in action with things like the SAGE architecture, which was a big topic of conversation. The idea here is, instead of having one massive monolithic model that tries to do everything, you use a smarter layered approach. So you have a base model for broad, common-sense reasoning. Then a fusion layer that acts like a traffic cop, coordinating a bunch of smaller, specialized expert models so they don't step on each other's toes. And finally, a layer to actually go out and test these ideas in the real world.
And this new way of thinking, it really clicked with people. The buzz in the hallways was unmistakable. The community was tired of just benchmark chasing, trying to get a slightly higher score on some abstract test. The focus had shifted to, real-world stuff, building things that actually solve problems for actual people.
Okay, so everything sounds great in the research labs. AI is maturing, it's getting smarter, but what does that actually feel like for the rest of us, in our day-to-day jobs? Well, let's take a look at the reality on the ground, because it turns out it's pretty complicated.
So there was this survey that came out during the week, and it painted a really surprising picture. Despite all this incredible advanced research we've been talking about, a whopping 7 out of 10 white-collar workers in Singapore are actually frustrated with the AI tools they're using right now. And when you dig into why, you see this huge gap between the promise of AI and the day-to-day reality.
This gap has created something people are starting to call the productivity tax. Think about it. The promise was that AI would free us from boring, tedious work. But the reality for many is that they're spending all this new time fixing generic answers, double-checking facts, and just endlessly copying and pasting between different AI tools that don't talk to each other. It's like for every step forward, we take a half step back.
And this isn't just about productivity. This whole shift is having a really deep emotional impact too. Look at this quote from Aditya Agrawal, the former CTO of Dropbox. He said, "This period of automation is paradoxically reminding me what it feels like to be human again." He talked about this mix of awe and, frankly, sadness as skills that he spent his whole career building are suddenly automated. It's forcing a lot of people to ask some pretty big questions about their own purpose and identity. So let's pull all this together. What's the big takeaway? That week in Singapore really felt like AI was moving past its awkward, super hyped teenage years. It's stepping into adulthood, a more mature phase where the focus is on smart rules, smarter technology, and maybe most importantly, a real focus on the humans who are actually using it.
And that leaves us with one final, really big question. Integrating this new, more mature AI into our lives, that's not just a technical challenge anymore. It's a human one. It's a societal one. The technology has grown up. It's graduated. So the real question is, how will we choose to mature right along with it?